Hey guys, DB Talks here, and in this video, DomCherokee and I will be showing you a music theoretical analysis of the track in English, Mystery of the Dragon Balls. Now we're only going to be analyzing the first 46 seconds of the song, but trust me, there is a lot to unpack. We're going to show you our analysis of the opening melody as well as other motifs. We're going to be showing you our harmonic analysis or Roman numeral analysis of the chord progression, and discuss the history of a sound effect in this track as it relates to Journey to the West. We'll also be discussing some history and attributes of the Eastern culture. And right now, to make sure you're not entirely clueless, here's some musical terminology. Hope you enjoy.
And here I am with the magic of editing. So the first term we have is key signature. The key signature basically tells us what note is the tonic or the tonal center of the piece. We've got time signature, which tells us how we feel the music. So in this piece, we feel it as 2 beats per measure. We just count 1, 2, 1, 2. Sometimes you count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one, we count 1, 2.
Next, we have ostinato. An ostinato is a motif that repeats as long as the composer wants. So essentially, you'll hear a melody, and it'll just keep repeating over and over. Next, we have pentatonic. Penta meaning 5. It's a 5-note scale.
So next we have major and minor keys. Major and minor keys determine the character of a piece. Usually a major key will sound happy, while a minor key will sound sad. Syncopation means to emphasize the offbeat.
The tonic is the tonal center or the most important note of a song.
Chords are built off the major scale. Each note in the scale is associated with a certain number. For instance, we take the major scale and play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1.
Finally, the chord. A chord is 2 or more notes played at the same time.
Alright, so here's the part you've all been waiting for. This is our musical analysis of the song Mystery of the Dragon Balls. This one comes from Dragon Ball proper, so it's not from Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball GT, but the original series. And we thought it'd be a cool song to do as our first analysis.
As you know, me and DomCherokee both went to the same college, and we were majors in music. We wanted to put this out there because we've seen different YouTubers give their opinions on what they thought of certain songs, but they don't really go into the theory behind them. So we wanted to be the first ones to do that for y'all.
Yeah, it's a cool way for us to nerd out about, what we really love. So let's just get right into it.
Yep.
The first thing is the song is in F minor. That's the key, and the key usually just kind of determines the character of the piece. This one is cool because it borrows both from F minor, but also from different keys around it. So you've got this cool mixture between minor and major.
By the way, let's mention, Dominic, that you actually wrote this out for them. This isn't the score. You actually wrote this out.
Yeah, this isn't the original score. We were listening to the song, and we just used a notating program to enter in all the main melodies and stuff from the song into the piece. That way we didn't have to go through the entire song.
Right.
Yeah. Next we have the time signature. It's in 2/4. For this song, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, and that kind of determines how you feel the piece. We wrote it out in 2/4 just because the phrasing kind of suggests that you hear new ideas or new melodies every 2 beats. So we put it in 2/4.
Yeah, it could be in 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but just like you said, just the way we heard the phrasings, I would think 2/4 probably fits best. We couldn't find the original score, so we just kind of did this on our own. So
yeah, it took a lot of time, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
The first thing that you'll hear when you actually hear the piece is this ostinato, which is kind of like a repeating figure in the violins. And it just basically keeps the tonal of the center for the piece until the melody comes in.
Yeah. So we only wrote down a couple of measures just to give you all the gist of it. That actually repeats for a good portion of the verse. And actually this song is based off of Mystical Adventure, right, Dominic?
Yeah, Mystical Adventure is the title, well, not the title track, but the intro theme to Dragon Ball. So every time you would see the show, you would hear the theme. And this piece actually contains the theme and, just add-ons to the song.
We would try to say the actual Japanese name for it, but we're going to butcher it. So
yeah.
We're just going to stick with the Mystical Adventure.
And we'll put a link to the song in the description.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So after the first ostinato kind of cycles through a few times, the trumpets enter in with the melody, which is, for the most part, pentatonic, which means it's based off of 5 different notes.
Yeah, the pentatonic scale comes from Asia, and pentatonic melodies often contain repeated notes, as is the case here.
Yeah, so you'll hear some of these notes repeat. So this next part is my favorite part of the piece, and we've notated it in the timpani because there's no actual instrument for it. In the original recording of the Mystery of the Dragon Balls, you'll hear this kind of synthesized sound. It kind of sounds like kind of bubbly. Yeah, it's basically the sound that DB Talks just made. It's like that.
We'll leave a link for you, don't worry.
Yeah. You'll hear it. But it's cool because, as I was saying, Dragon Ball is based off of a Chinese fable called Journey to the West, which tells the story of Sun Wukong, or the Monkey King. And Goku is actually based off this character. Now, in Chinese media, you'll see the Monkey King everywhere. Well, almost every year they're making either like a new movie or a new series based on the Monkey King. And so every time that you hear the same sound, that kind of signals that Sun Wukong, or the Monkey King, is coming your way, or that he's flying on his cloud. And so it's just really cool to see how the writers of this song took that into consideration. They knew what Dragon Ball was about, they knew where it came from, and so they connected it to the original fable, which just shows how deep Dragon Ball goes. It's not just a Japanese thing, it's not just an anime, but it borrows so much from like the historical context of Asia.
And by the way, Dominic's wife is Chinese, and he's actually been to China, right?
Yeah, I've been to China twice, and my wife was actually the one to recognize what that sound was. One day I was just listening to this song, and she's like, "Oh, that's the Wukong sound." And I was like, "What is that?" And she kind of just gave me the rundown of what I gave you guys, and the Monkey King is just so prevalent in Chinese culture that kids on the street are always playing with the power pole. Yeah. Like they have those toys everywhere in China. People are always dressing up as the Monkey King, and it's just really cool to see kind of.
They really did take it to the next level.
Yeah, it really takes it to the next
level. Like not only the power pole and Goku being going to the Ozaru, like the ape.
Yeah.
That concept, but the music as well. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, it's just amazing how embedded this idea of the Monkey King or Dragon Ball is in their society. This song is basically broken up into 2 melodies. We only notated the first half of the first melody just for time's sake because it's really repetitive. But we're going to go ahead and play that melody for you now so you can see how the motif and the Journey to the West sound kind of combine together.
And also, like I said, we only did the first half just because, again, the melody is essentially, it's just pentatonic. So it's all the same, basically.
So the piece just continues on, kind of doing the same thing. Before the second half of the melody starts, there is one thing that changes, but it is the only thing that changes. The violins do the same motif that they did in the beginning, except they start on the third scale degree. So basically it's the same idea, but with different notes.
So now we're going to go ahead and show you the chord progression. As you can see, we've put Roman numerals underneath the chords. And obviously, Roman numeral 1, F minor. Then we have Roman numeral 4, B flat major. And Dominic, want to go ahead and explain the significance of the Roman numerals?
Yeah, so like we said in kind of our glossary section, the Roman numerals just kind of tell you what scale degree the chord is built on. And this part is actually interesting because it's the second half of the song, so the second melody, and it goes through this chord progression, which is more common with Western songs, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Western music, we kind of tend to go through chords, whereas in Eastern music, they kind of tend to base everything off of a drone and, have a lot of different ostinatos. But we kind of go through chord progressions.
Or they'll just keep it like earlier pentatonic.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is a cool song because it combines both Eastern and Western aspects. So, what you just heard was my computer. It's running low on battery, so I apologize for that. We got our first chord, which is the F minor chord. Which is pretty obvious or pretty expectable, just because it's in the key of F minor. What's cool is it goes from F minor to B flat major. It goes to the major 4 chord.
Yeah, and typically in minor keys, the 4 chord will be minor. But in this instance, they used B flat major or major 4.
Yeah, so earlier when we were talking about the, different key signatures or different keys having different feels, this one is interesting in the fact that it borrows from the major and minor keys. So it doesn't have like an exclusively sad or an exclusively happy feel. It's very across the board. So we go now to the 5 chord, which will lead us back into the 1 chord, and then you can kind of hear that chord progression, that 1 4 5 1, which we'll play now.
Oh, and also before you play it, the reason why the Roman numeral 1 is lowercase, and then you see that the rest are uppercase, is because when it's lowercase, it signifies that it's minor, and then uppercase means that it's major.
So the first half of the second melody basically repeats again, but on the repeat, we actually go to the major 6. The major 6 is actually pretty common in minor keys. Usually in major keys, it'll be a minor 6, but here we have the major flat 6, which is a D flat major. So the piece ends on the 5 chord, or at least that's part of the piece that we've chosen to analyze. It ends on the 5 chord, which can do a lot of different things. You can either go back into the minor 1 chord, you can stay on the 5 and kind of give the piece a different feel. And so that's actually what happens in the next part. It goes into the minor 1, but it has a completely different feel. And because we've hung out on the 5 for so long, that kind of helps give the piece a different character.
The 5 chord and the 1 chord actually have a really strong relationship. The 5 chord always wants to resolve to the 1 chord. And if it doesn't resolve, then it kind of leaves the audience, with this unnerving feeling, like what's going on, like why we want it to be complete. Why isn't it happening? And so that's called a half cadence. So when in a song where you hear a piece of music end on the 5 chord. Actually, Dominic, you want to get your guitar and demonstrate?
Yeah, sure. So let's just pick the key of C major. You're in the key of C major. You'll start on the C chord, and which will be the 1 chord, and you'll go through some chords, and usually it'll end up somewhere. Somewhere you'll end up on the 5 chord. So you'll have 1, 5, and the way that the 5 chord works is that it actually wants to bring you back to 1. So actually, by not playing the 1 chord right now, you're kind of feeling this sense of incompletion. But when I play the 1 chord, it sounds like it's complete. So that's basically what we've done here. Or what the composer's done here is they've gone from 1 to 5, but without resolving back to 1, and that gives us a sense of incompletion.
Go ahead and play. Show us the resolve without pausing, and then show us without again.
Okay.
So he's going to show you 5 resolving to 1 immediately, and he's going to show you the half cadence.
So here's the complete cadence.
That sense of relief.
And then here's the half cadence.
When's it coming? We don't know. It might not come at all.
But for your brains, we'll just give you a 1.
All right, so that concludes our musical analysis, both harmonic and also historical. Dominic, any thoughts you want to share for the viewers?
This is a really cool song for me to analyze, not just harmonically, but historically, like DB Talks was saying, just because it's so embedded in Chinese culture that it just shows, how much Toriyama and, his team were thinking about the whole culture and how Dragon Ball goes beyond just, a regular anime. So with that, I think I'm good.
All right, we'll catch y'all next time.
This is Piccolo, and if you don't want to end up like Son Goku's boy, you'll subscribe to DB Talks.